book, don't get stuck on sad pages. Rainy days with no money. Hard work leads to days that are sunny. Looking back, it was all needed. The problems, the pain, the trauma, the grieving. You are now tuned into the prisoner to painter. Prisoner to painter. Hard work, dedication. Rainy days, inspiration. Prisoner to painter. And now, a word from your local dealer.
Welcome to the Prisoner to Painter podcast. I'm Nathan McDermott.
And I'm Katie McDermott.
And today joining us is Danny.
Yep.
Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having the courage to tell your story.
It's taken me a lot, but I'm here. I'm ready to get it out. Like I've stated before to most people, to the ones that have been around me my whole life, they may not think that it's traumatic to them. Mm-hmm. But the things that I dealt with emotionally, mentally, just trying to figure out who I was, it was hard because I didn't have anybody. And it really, it's just taking a toll. And it's just time for it to come out. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics here. It's not only about myself. I have 3 beautiful children. I have my daughter. Haley. I love her to death. She is my best friend, my mini-me. My son, Christopher, phenomenal kid. He went through a lot of changes growing up too. And a lot of this all stems, from me as a human being and as a person and the things that I went through and the things that I never wanted to face and deal with. And, but at the end of the day, it just helps. Yeah. It helps everybody. It helps me, helps them. And that's pretty much what I want. I want the clarity for my family, my kids, everything. So.
Well, and I know you're going to take lead on this, but I do want to say one thing that I think for anybody watching, and I want to get this out at the beginning of the episode for any viewer watching, doctors say that abusive relationships or stuff that you might have went through is just as bad, if not worse, than PTSD from a war. That is scientifically proven. That is not just some shit people made up and drew out of the hat. That's real.
CPTSD.
CPT. Oh, well, okay. Well, but
because it's you're chronically exposed. It's not like one event that triggers those feelings. It's like you are chronically exposed, and it'll vary and things like that. I was gonna ask if maybe I could have you just come a little closer to the mic. You don't gotta go too much.
There we go. That better?
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Now I'm over here knocking the table.
No, that's okay. He hits the table sometimes.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, no, I wanted to say that right at the beginning because I feel like some people think oh, well, it wasn't that bad. Dude, if they can relate it to going to war, it's that bad. It's that bad. Maybe worse. So,
right.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
But, okay.
Okay, so where would you say, you said that a lot of things stem from childhood. So where would you say that your story starts in childhood?
It roughly started about when I was 14 years old. Prior to that, normal childhood, family gatherings every weekend, aunts, uncles coming down, awesome. Go-kart track, go-karts, dirt bikes, just the fun stuff. I come across a letter, I think I was 14 years old. And in this letter, it was supposedly from my dad's best friend. Mm-hmm. Now, my whole life, all up to this point, I wanted to know my dad. I wanted to know what he was like. I wanted to know who he was. And, a lot of people throw that, oh, you got daddy issues. Well, you know what? If you've never been on that spectrum, you're never going to understand that from anybody's point of view. Mm-hmm. And my whole life, that's all I wanted was to know my dad. Well, I found a letter and I took it to school. I didn't want my mom knowing that I found this letter. And I probably shouldn't have taken it to school, but I did anyway. And I was in my teacher's class, and her name was Miss Forbes. And I pulled this letter out, and I read this letter, and I broke down and started crying because in this letter, it had stated that my dad died a few years prior to me finding this letter from cancer. Devastated me. I broke down, I cried, I shut myself down for a while. I mean, that was really my turning point. Mm-hmm. I went from being a good kid to a chaotic, not caring, getting into trouble out there on the, smoking weed, running the streets, skipping school, drinking, doing all sorts of stuff. A lot of things that my mom don't know about. Heaven forbid, Mom, if you're watching, I love you. Don't kill me. Needless to say, but so from the time I was 14 until I was 17, like that played in my mind over and over again. And I'd ask my mom growing up, like, why can't I see my dad? Like, why can't I be around my dad? And it was told that my dad had stole my mom's car before I was even born, had a bunch of my baby stuff in it. Like, my mom told me that my dad was running with some people. She ended up getting shot when she was pregnant with me. She was shot in the arm. Thankfully, that it was only her arm and not life-threatening at that point, but because of all the medications and x-rays and all of that, like radiation was bad for kids back in the day. And they told my mom I'd be born with a lot of problems, like neurological issues. And I wouldn't see that until I got to my adult years. But at 17, I was going through all these old photo frames. What falls out the back? But my grandmother's address to my dad. So I figured, I didn't know she had already passed away, but I wanted to know that side of my family. I wanted to know, did I have sisters? Did I have brothers? Did I have, family out there that I didn't even know about? Like, I want to know them. I want to be a part of their lives. I want to know who they are. And so at 17, I didn't say anything to my mom. I kind of hid that piece of information too. I sent a letter to this address to get a response a couple weeks later from my stepmom at the time, telling me that no, my dad was still alive. So that devastated me even more.
Again, all over again.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, like here it is. I went through all of this with knowing that my dad's dead. I finally had come to that exception of it. Like I accepted it. Like there's nothing I can do. I'll never get to know him. I'll never know anything about him. And I was okay with that. But I felt like I could get to know him through my family, through that family. And it blew my mind. Yeah. I found out in this letter that I did have other siblings. I had 2 sisters and a little brother. Awesome. And for the longest time, like these 3 didn't know really anything about me until this letter came about. And, they were, at first they were all excited, an older sister. Now it's kind of confusing because with my mom and dad together, I have 9 siblings all together from my mom and my dad. Yes. I have 4 brothers, 5 sisters. I also have a half brother who was given up for adoption when he was younger. And that's also my dad's kid. Gotcha. So when my dad, I turned on and I got this letter back and I broke down and I started crying. And my mom was like, what is going on? And I'm like, I need to talk to you. So, irritated, mad, pissed off at the world, pissed off. And I looked at her and I said, I need to know. I said, I found this letter when I was 14 and I held the letter up. I said, but I have this letter here that states that my dad is alive. Where did this letter come from? My mom turned and sat down and she told me the most devastating news. Like my mom was the one that she's my mom. And she proceeded to tell me that she wrote the letter. It wasn't from my dad's best friend. It was from my mom. And that hurt more than anything. And I'm like, why would you do that? She's like, because at the time I thought I was protecting you. I said, you protected me from what? Like, what were you protecting me from? And like, I never really got that answer. So my dad, his wife, and the 3 kids came down. And the first visit, I was nerve-wracked, pretty much nerve-wracked like I am right now. But I was nerve-wracked and like the visit went great. Well, shortly after I met my dad, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So I called it, after I found out I was pregnant, like I was trying to figure out how I was going to tell my dad that he was going to be a grandpa.
Mhm.
My mom said she didn't want to be a grandma until after she was 40. Well, I waited till a few days after her 40th birthday and told her, by the way, you're going to be a grandma. And she told me I was lying. And I even showed her the ultrasound.
That's
and she's like,
funny.
you altered that. I'm like, how is that even remotely possible? Like, I can't do that, Mom. Well,
That's funny.
Your daughter is watching. And she said hello. She said, hi, Mama.
Hi, baby. But
That's
nevertheless, like, so I called my dad and I'm like, so I need to know how you feel about being a grandpa.
Mhm.
And he is like, what are you fucking talking about? And I am like, okay. Like, I didn't know this side of him yet.
Yeah.
Like, so he was pretty upset about it. I was young, I was 17, just found out I was pregnant, Well, he ended up, my dad and stepmom decided they were going to throw me a baby shower. And this is where things really took a toll with my family.
Mhm.
And it started with my dad's sister. Like, everything was going great for the baby shower. Like, it was phenomenal to finally be around all these people in my family. Like,
And is this the first time you're meeting like your aunts and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
yes. And my one aunt, my Aunt Diane, like, she, asking me a bunch of questions. And then she's like, well, I'm going to tell you, if I find out you're smoking while you after you have this baby or during your pregnancy, I will take you to court for full custody. I lost my shit at that point. I was like, I don't even know who the fuck you are. And you're going to sit here and say this to me?
Yeah.
Like, it blew up. So after that point, like, I made it a point to just try to socialize with my dad. Like, my uncles weren't that bad. Like, my Uncle Johnny, cool guy.
Awesome.
Cool guy. Some of my other uncles, like, I met them at like a family Christmas party, but I really didn't get to interact with them a whole lot. My sister, my one sister, Mindy, once she realized that she wasn't no longer dad's oldest, like, she got a little upset about that. And I mean, I can understand where she was coming from, because for all those years she thought she was the oldest. And like my sister Jamie, she's a phenomenal. I love her to death. Like,
Awesome.
My brother Bubby and I, we don't have that much of a connection. And I mean, that's his prerogative, and I'm okay with that. Like, their choices, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
But after that, like, just things went really, really downhill real quick with my dad. Like, we were constantly fighting, but I didn't know that there was an influential person from my mom's side of the family that had a lot of influence on that. It wasn't until probably about, I want to say 12 years ago, that some things started to come out. I found out one of my cousins was telling my dad, and the crazy thing is like, before that, like, I grew up with one of my cousins from my dad's side and didn't even know it.
Wow.
I was raised with her, didn't know it, didn't know any better, didn't know who she was, other than I was always told she was my cousin, but it was always led to believe it was from my dad or my mom's side, not my dad's. So nevertheless, things just kind of took a crazy spiral from there. I ended up moving up to Detroit after my daughter was born. She was born the day after my 18th birthday. We are legitimately 18 years one day and like 12 hours apart in age.
Wow.
My sister had her first baby on her 20th birthday.
I was so hoping I'd have had Haley on my birthday, but I didn't get that lucky. She said, no, Mom, I'm stubborn. But, I tried to include my dad on my kids' life as much as possible, because he didn't get to watch me grow up. Well, I wasn't going to deny him that with my kids. That was the mind perception that I had. About a year goes by. Here comes Christopher, which is my son.
Okay.
And, my dad and them were like, oh, we'd like to spend time with the kids. His wife was the one that mainly called me, and I was okay with that. Like, Tyrone took my kids up there, let them spend time, let them get to know my sisters.
And that's a dynamic of a lot of men and women. Like, she calls, I'm here. Like that's kind of, so that's not far-fetched. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a lot of that. And then, like, I don't know, I guess, like, I moved up there. I was up in Detroit. I lived at 23 in Gratiot at that point in time. Like, I was all over the place. Yep. And that's like the big cities, when you've lived in the country your whole life, and then you go to the big city, like, you go fucking ape shit crazy. Like, you're like, oh, what's out here?
Yep.
that's when things really turned bad. By the time I was 20 years old, I ended up getting into the bar business. And when I say bar business, I was an adult entertainer at that time. Like I worked in the strip joints, and my dad really looked down on me over that one. And a lot of my family did too. But at the same time, like they didn't understand. Like I didn't have that guidance. Like my mom and I, teenage years, did not have the best relationship. 20 years, you know, in my 20s, we did not have that best relationship. If I called her because I needed advice, she was always looking for a reason to get me off the phone. Always looking for a reason not to be there. And like I talked to her about this here a couple of weeks ago, and like her and I sat on the phone and we were just crying with one another because I was like, Mom, like you did this, like you don't want to, you didn't admit it at the time. She's like, well, I guess I really didn't understand that that's what was going on. And now that she understands that, she now sees things from a different perspective. And my mom is my best friend.
Heck yeah.
Now she is my best friend. I love her to death. I will bend over backwards for her. But I got involved in the bars, and then I started drinking at, I think I was 19 when I started drinking, and it got colossal crazy. I was out partying all the time. Like my kids were suffering, and I was young. I didn't have anybody. My dad really just wanted to argue and fight with me every time I turned around. Every time I called, he was never there, never wanted to talk. This, that, and the other. Okay. So I called my mom, never wanted anything. I had to fight to find babysitters for my kids and to have that help. It boiled down to my friends ended up becoming my support group. They became my village. They became everything that I needed. And then my youngest son, Logan, I met his dad.
Okay.
Prior to that, Haley and Chris's dad, I was 14. He was 24 when we got together.
So that's abusive in itself.
Yeah. Well, we kept it hid from my mom. Like my mom didn't really know anything of it because at 14, like I was aware he could go to jail. He was aware he could go to jail. It was more of a brainwash technique with him than anything. And I didn't know any better. Like I rebelled like no other. I didn't care. Like my grandmother died. I didn't care, you know, for the world at all at that point. Like I was drinking all the time.
Well, and then you're getting like positive male attention.
Yeah.
And growing up, you know, your dad not really being around, that's like, you're like, oh my gosh, like a man is paying attention to me and it's good.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like my grandfather was there.
Right.
Phenomenal guy, but he worked for Chrysler, so he was gone all the time.
I worked a lot. Making a living.
Exactly. And like when he came home, like at the age, 10, 11, like he showed me how to work on cars and, all that stuff. So like that was a positive part of my life. The more traumatic part of it was in my 20s. I would have to really, really say it was in my 20s because it went from drinking into smoking weed. And at one point, I tried cocaine. Whoop-de-doo. I did. That one time changed the perspective of my life forever. Because then I even went even wilder. Like I was doing private parties. I was running the streets. My poor kids, at the time, like they didn't see mom that much because mom would get up, go to work, be gone till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, come home, smash drunk, pass out, get back up and do it again. And I didn't realize at the time the damage I was doing to my kids. I really didn't. I will take accountability. And for a lot of the things that these kids went through in their life, I hold myself accountable for more than anybody because it was my choice, my actions, my movements that affected them for the rest of their life. And then like my first husband, I'm currently married now. Okay. And my first husband, when we got together, he seemed all right. No, it turned into a very violent mess very, very quickly. Logan's dad, a lot of my anger stems with him because Logan was 3 months old the last time I'd seen him. Prior to that, my dad decided he was going to turn around and take custody of Haley and Christopher. And this wasn't because, I was out there doing all this crazy shit. I called my dad because I was in a situation where I was going to be out on the street, and I'm like, Dad, I need help. Like, I don't have anybody. I need help. And he's like, I'll come get the kids. They can stay with me for a couple days until you figure things out. Just make sure you write a letter stating that we have permission to get them medical treatment, things like that. So I did that, thinking, okay, my dad's going to help me. This is going to be great. Like, I can finally get myself on the right track. To find out, my dad went and got custody of Haley and Christopher. And for a couple months, yeah, he had the kids with him. They were flipped over to me, flipped over to him, flipped over to me, flipped over to him. Well, I finally got them back, and I went down to my mom's house, and my dad's wife called and called and called and called and said, can we get the kids? Can we get the kids? Can we get the kids? And this is about the part where Haley and Chris's life really changed drastically for him. Christopher, he was, I want to say 2 years old. Haley was 3. They were just little ones.
Still youngins, yeah.
Yes. And by this time, their dad and I wasn't together. Like, I finally came to my senses. It was because of him that I got into the bars. Like, he pushed me into that aspect. He pushed me to go do that. I'm young. I didn't know any better. So I did that. And by doing that, my kids suffered drastically in the long run. And my stepmom called me and she said, well, can we get the kids for the weekend? I'm like, okay. Drove the kids up on a Friday. I said, well, I'll be back on Sunday about 6 o'clock to pick them up. They lived up in Detroit in Lincoln Park. So I drove my kids up there. Sunday come around, I called and called and called, no answer. I'm like, maybe they're out, at the park or outside or doing something. I'll just go ahead and drive up there. I drove all the way up there, got to my dad's house, knocked on the door, no answer. Knocked on the door, no answer. Knocked on the door, no answer. I didn't get an answer at all. So I had no choice but to go back home.
I'll say boot in the door. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't get me wrong. Like, I thought about that, but also my dad is a really, really big guy, and I'm not trying to get pummeled by a quarterback that never made it to the big league. Okay. To be honest with you. And finally I get back home, and about 7:30 that night, my stepmom calls me, and I'm like, I was at your house. Like, I come to get my kids. They're like, oh, their dad came and got them. I'm like, what do you mean their dad came and got them? Yep, he showed up here a half hour after you left on Friday and picked them up. Where the fuck are my kids at now?
Yeah.
No clue. He took them out of state.
Damn.
I called state police, got the state police involved. It was a long, dragged out battle, but we ended up getting the kids back.
Good.
And when I got them back, they weren't in the best conditions. My son had a gash on his rear end, on his right butt cheek, about that long from the latch of a belt buckle. They were covered in head to toe with bruises. They were extremely malnourished. They had head lice, bruises all over them. The minute I got them back, I took them to the hospital. Upon getting them to the hospital, I find out that they were severely beaten, severely starved. Like my daughter, he locked us in a room. The stepmom was horrible to him, padlocked him into a room. Only allowed him out so often throughout the day. And then, like, at first I found it hard to believe, like, he would actually do this. But come to find out, it wasn't him. It was actually his wife that was doing it. And that would come from confirmation from his mother a few years later when she came to live with me. She turned and told me everything my kids went through. But when I took them into the emergency room, they called Protective Services, and Protective Services come in. They're like, you beat your kids. I'm like, no, I did not beat my kids. I didn't do this to them. And that spiraled me even more. It really, really did. And then after dealing with that charade and finally getting that mess straightened out, I, dealt with Logan's dad.
I don't know how you feel about the first guy, but what I'm gonna say is like I don't know how to explain this. So like if there's two people in the same room and this person says something and I don't believe in it, but I don't say nothing, I'm just as guilty as he is.
Right.
So I mean, and that's good to know that he didn't do it, but it's like, buddy, you're just as guilty.
That's like if you see something, say something.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or if you see something, do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Damn, dude. But sorry, continue.
with Logan's dad, like I met him after Haley and Chris's dad. And at that point, like I was bouncing from place to place with my kids. Like their dad wasn't great at all. Like Christopher or Haley was like 4 months old and needed formula. And I couldn't even get him to go get formula for her. Like I had to call friends and they'd bring it over 2:00 in the morning. So I was just done with that scene. I didn't want to deal with it no more. Like, and I was bound to determine my kids will never deal with somebody like that. You know, and it's not that I ever kept their dad from them. Like I've always told them who their dad was. I always, you know, all of that. And then Logan's dad became a part of the picture. And when we first got together, like Mike, he was amazing. Like he, at first, like he was all about the kids, you know, he helped me out with the kids. He did things with the kids. Like Mike was really a good guy in the beginning. And then we moved to Davison and got an apartment, and of course, I was still working the bars, still doing all that. Well, when I found out I was pregnant with Logan, like I didn't want to do that no more. I wanted to be home. I wanted to take care of my kids. He got laid off from his job. We were struggling after his unemployment ran out. And he looked at me and he's like, well, I'm still laid off. You're going to have to go back to the bar because we got to get these bills taken care of. And he turned around and he was mad because I was gone till 2:00 in the morning. Well, yeah, when I got to leave at 12:00 in the afternoon just to go make that money to try and be able to take care of my kids, pay our bills, things like that. Like we were looking at being evicted, thrown out on the street. Well, when I went back to work at the bars, I was getting calls from the police, the Davison Police Department. They had my kids, Haley and Chris. So I had to go to the police department and they were ready to arrest me for endangerment, you know, abandonment. They found them outside in their diapers and t-shirts, not knowing the situation. Like I called Mike and I am like, where are my kids? He's like, well, they're in their room playing. I'm like, oh, they are? Explain to me why I just picked them up from the Davison Police Department. And he's like, you shouldn't have. I'm like, I did. Well, when I got home, walked through the door, there were baby gates in front of my kids' bedroom from the floor to the ceiling. They couldn't get out of the room if they wanted to. He looked like he just woke up. It wasn't the first incident that I crossed with him. And like, I know he's never going to own up to it. I know he's never going to admit to his wrongs. He's never going to take the blame for it. And I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, I'm the one that knows what happened. I was there. That we are the ones that know the story, me and him. I finally got sick of it. I was still pregnant with Logan. I left. I ended up finding my first husband. And like he went above and beyond too for Haley, for Chris. The day before Logan was born, I didn't feel good. I was sleeping and Logan hadn't moved that whole time. That scared me.
Yeah.
Well, my first husband, he rushed me to the hospital in Lapeer because that's where Logan was born. And from the time we got to the hospital until midnight that night, we tried to reach Logan's father. Could not find him. Reached out to everybody. He shows up to the hospital drunk. And I looked at him and I'm like, you need to just go home and get some sleep. Like, you do not need to be here in this condition. Come back tomorrow. Nothing's going to progress. Like, I don't need you here right now stressing me out. Like, just go. So he left. And finally, like, the contractions, everything got horrible. They gave me Pitocin to try to help speed things up. And that was a scary point for me because, like, they ended up giving me the epidural. And we found out Logan had an allergic reaction to it. And it dropped his heart rate. And they said that they were going to rush me down for an emergency C-section. But at that point, like, they hadn't told me that Logan, this was going on with him. They just said emergency C-section. And as they're wheeling me down, I'm calling them everything in the book.
Yeah,
you know, everything. I'm like, you motherfuckers, tell me what is going on. Like, is my baby okay? Like, what the hell is the deal here?
Shit.
Yeah, they didn't tell me. They just hit my IV and I said good night and woke up the following day. And I had this blanket blowing heat on me. Well, my ex-husband at the time, he's like, I'm going to go let the bar know you're not going to be in. The baby's here, the whole 9 yards. Well, after Logan was born, like I made sure that Mike was included on the name and everything. And we named Logan after two of Mike's best friends. One's name was Logan, the other one's name was Matthew. So we named him Logan Matthew.
Nice.
And that was, you know, out of respect for not only those guys because they were Mike's friend, but it was because those guys meant everything in the world to Mike at that point in time. I mean, I don't know where it's at now. Like Mike and I don't go out of my way to talk to him.
Yeah.
But after Logan was born, like Mike come up to the hospital, you know, he got a car seat, you know, he was doing what a dad needed to do at that point. And I was okay with that. Like I was all about, let's be cordial for him. You know, he still wasn't dealing with the fact that we had split up. He still hadn't handled the fact that I'd moved on. Like I was never trying to replace Mike and Logan's life like that. And that never would have ever happened, regardless as to what went on between him and I, because at that point, I was to that point where I'm not going to turn around and let other people interfere. If he's going to be there and he wants to be a part of his son's life, by all means, please be there.
Yep.
Never going to stop you. Well, finally, like my husband at the time, he come back into, you know, the hospital. He's like, oh, by the way, he's like, just wanted to let you know we were out celebrating. He's like, my brother got into a fight with a gang on the east side of Flint, and well, I got stabbed in the head. And I just like froze right there. Like he's got staples in his head. Like it was horrible. So his brother calls and I'm like, you know, normal, hello, how are you? And he, hi, how you doing? How's the baby doing? I said, I'm fine. The baby's fine. But what the fuck were you thinking? And I heard click. After I was released from the hospital, like Mike did an honest thing. He didn't even have to with Haley and Christopher, but he took all three of the kids because I had that emergency C-section. I had staples in my stomach. Like, I needed that rest. So he took the kids, all three of them, back to his house, and he took care of all three of the kids for at least, I think it was like 2-3 days.
Right.
And then, like, I ended up leaving Flint after all of this because, like, I went to the bar that I was working at that night that I got home. And, like, the girls were all coming up to me. They're like, how's the baby? I was showing pictures. Everybody was just in awe about the baby. Well, I noticed my husband was acting a little funny. So I'm like, okay. Went to the back dressing room and I'm back there chit-chatting with the girls. Come back out and I looked at him and I said, we need to go now. Because he wasn't at home when I got home. They couldn't track him down. So I turned around and I asked him, is there anything you want to tell me? He said, no. I said, that's not what the girls in the back are telling me. Well, then he finally admitted he was cheating on me with the boss's daughter. I'm like, I'm done. Leave it. Well, he wanted to make it work, and he's like, no, like, we'll leave. We'll go down. Dummy me. Went down to my mom's house, moved in there. And at that point, I knew that that was going to be hard on Mike because now his son is so far away, like 2 hours away. So I called Mike and I'm like, hey, look, like, can you come down here to my mom's? Like, I want to talk to you. And I think this was, compared to everything that I'd already been through, this was my big turning point because this is what drastically changed my life. Mike come down and I sat him in the kitchen at my mom's house. And I'm like, look, I said, I don't want some court telling us how to raise our children. I said, especially our son, like, I don't want that. Like, I want you present. I want you here, you know, I want you, if you want to pick your son up, pick your son up. If you want to take your son for the weekend, take your son for the weekend. Whatever you got to do to have that connection with your son, I want you to have it. Like, we had this conversation right in front of my mom. I'm like, look, if I can't get something for him and I call you and say, hey, Mike, I need this for Logan, don't fight me on it. Just get it for him. I thought I was being more than fair with that whole scenario. Well, a couple weeks later, my older sister on my mom's side, her and I got into an argument. Logan was about 3 months old at the time. And she didn't like the way that I was feeding him. I was holding him like this, and I had his bottle like this. He was fully supported. But with Logan, you had to feed him a certain way with him being that young, because he was having a latching problem. Like, I couldn't even breastfeed him. So, and he was having a lot of gastro issues, things like that. And she turned and told me I was a piece of shit mom and this, that, and the other because of the way I was feeding my kid. And I'm like, look, you deal with your kids how you see fit. I'm going to deal with mine how I see fit. And I took Logan and I put him up on my shoulder, and I went to stand to turn away from him or from her. And she jumped up and she went to go strike me in the back of the head, missed me, and hit Logan. I handed Logan off, and this is in my mom's house at this point. And I commenced to whooping my sister's ass up and down my mom's hallway. Like, my sister, she'll never admit to it either. Like, that never happened, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if you want to own up to it or not. But at the end of the day, like, what stopped me and her from fighting is when I went to swing, I hit my mom. That stopped me dead in my tracks. Well, then a couple weeks later, like, I hadn't heard nothing from Mike. Tried calling him, let him know updates on his son, things like that. Didn't hear anything from him. Out of the blue, he calls me a couple days before Halloween. He's like, hey, is it okay if I pick Christopher and Logan up? I want to do Logan's first Halloween. I'm like, well, you're not obligated to take Christopher. Like, he's, you don't have. No, I want to. Now, keep in mind, I didn't know that him and my sister were already in cahoots with one another. My sister's done nothing but terrorize me my whole life. And that's just because of resentment for whatever her resentment issues are. That's her problem, not mine. And I was like, no, you go ahead and you take it. He's like, well, I'll take Christopher too. You take Haley. It's like, all right, we'll meet at Myers on Center Road the following, that Sunday. And so I get to Myers on Center Road at 9 p.m. and his brother David is there with Christopher. And I'm like, where's your brother at? He's like, I don't know. He just turned around and told me to bring Christopher here to meet you here. I'm like, where is your brother with my son? And that was the hardest part of my life. Because Mike took off with him. Mike kept him hid for a good long time, and then I found out he was at his mom's house in Detroit. And so I called the cops, went over there with the cops. The cops went up to his door and had asked him if he had Logan. He said yes. His name wasn't even on the birth certificate at the time. And they asked him if he wished to relinquish Logan. He said no. The cops come down. Charles told me that if I did not leave the property, they were going to arrest me for trespassing. So I had no choice but to leave. Still trying to track him down. And then I find out he's at my dad's house. And, well, I took the Lincoln Park police over there, and that's when I found out that he had gotten custody. I found out all my court papers were sent to my father's house. Somebody signed my name to the proof of summons.
Because that was your legal address then or something?
No, I was still living down here at my mom's house. Yes. Huh. Yes, exactly. And Mike knew exactly where I was at.
Yeah.
But somebody signed my name to the proof of summons. Well, after the cops handed me them papers, I went right to the Macomb County Courthouse and I asked them to see the file. And that's when I seen everything. My sister went in and testified against me. Like, it was a number of things. I abandoned my kid. I did this. I did that. It was horrible. And now I was not only dealing with the situation with my dad, because my dad's trying to collect child support from me, and my kids and Haley and Christopher were living with me at the time. And then now I've got this going on. Well, Mike had called me up after all of that, and he's like, look, you're not going to see him. You're not going to be around him. And I'm like, why would you even do this? Like, and at that time, I didn't realize that it was revenge for Mike, because that, in my eyes, that's exactly what it was. Why would you yank my child away from me when you knew damn well there was nothing wrong with him? He was being very well taken care of. He did not like my ex-husband. He did not want my ex-husband around him, and it was revenge for him. I don't care what he says. That was revenge for him. Well, through the course of all of that, it became very hard. I cried every day, wanting to be a part of my son's life. Not knowing what he looked like, not knowing who he was, not knowing anything about him because Mike wouldn't tell me. Then I find out he's with my sister Mindy. I don't hold any anger with her because she only knows what he's told her. She's never really sat down to talk to me, to ask me my side. And I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is the lies that both of them came to me with. At the time, like, I didn't have nothing. I still didn't have family. I was back down here. Like, my mom and I were back at it again. Like, ultimately, once again, my friends became my family. And it was really, really hard because I get a phone call from them. And my ex-sister-in-law, Stephanie, like, she was there. Her brother was there when I went to the courthouse because Mike and Mindy were like, look, if you turn around and you sign off on him and allow Mindy to adopt him at this point, like, the kid didn't even know who I was. Like, I didn't want to hurt him, like, confuse him. Like, my older two were already going through enough. I didn't want that for Logan. And a lot of people in my family, they don't understand that. And I don't expect them to. So I had agreed to it because they said, they're like, look, if you do this, like, you can come see him, but you can't tell him who you are. After I did that, I hadn't heard nothing from him. Couldn't reach him, couldn't get a hold of him. And then Logan was about, and thankfully for my sister Jamie, like, she was the one who always let me know Logan was okay. She couldn't go into too many details, but she let me know he was okay. And I was okay with that. May not have been at the time, like, I was blowing up saying all sorts of stupid shit, but I was angry. I was very angry. And now, like, at this point, like, Logan, I find out he's in the Young Marine program. Like, he's doing really good.
For him, hell yeah.
Beautiful, like, all up until he was 12 years old. Awesome. I got to talk to him a few times, but Mindy did. She got on the phone and she told me, she's like, look, you can talk to him, but you cannot tell him who you are. If you do, we're going to cut contact. Now, they did let me go see Logan when he was 2 years old. My ex-sister-in-law's brother and my brother-in-law, he was my best friend at the time before him and my sister got married. They took me to go see him. And I drove all the way to Lapeer. We had met over at Mike's grandma and grandpa's house. And, like, Logan was just an adorable little boy. Like, he was so adorable and so sweet and so, I mean, just, I was like, man, that's my kid. Like, but I couldn't tell him anything. He was 2. He wouldn't have understood it anyway. Like, I was trying to respect that because even if I would have only been able to hear his voice, that meant enough to me to let me know he was okay. And, like, after that, like, there was no contact at all. Like, no phone calls back from Mike, nothing. And then it just became worse. Like, and mentally that destroyed me. It really, really did. Like, I made it a point to push myself away from Haley and Christopher. Like, I was afraid to get attached to them because, well, I didn't want them getting taken from me too. And that's where I was wrong with both of them. And all I can do is say I'm sorry. My kids will always be my number one priority. Well, then I ended up finding out when Logan was 12 years old, that he found out that Mindy was not his mom. And I'd been telling him, like, don't lie to him. Tell him exactly who you guys are. Don't lie to him because it's gonna be bad when he gets older. And apparently Mindy was getting on Logan about something, and Mike's mom turned around and told Logan, I don't even know why you're listening to her. She's not your real mom. So that's how Logan found out.
Mm-hmm.
Logan spiraled from there. Logan got in a lot of trouble. Logan did a lot of things over the course of the last few years. Like right now, Logan is currently sitting in prison. He's 22 years old, almost 23. And he's in prison right now for some pretty dumb things that I just will not elaborate about.
Mm-hmm.
Logan had been in and out of juvenile detention centers, in and out of probation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, running away from home, talking back to my sisters, being very mouthy, very disrespectful. And they eventually got to the point where Logan was, you know, calling me. Like, I got him a phone for Christmas. They brought him down for Christmas. He was, it was back in my grandson's first birthday, Eric. He just turned a year old. And Mike and Mindy brought him down. And we sat there. And they turned around and they said that, you know, that's when they finally told my mom the truth. That, yeah, my sister did help out on taking him. And, you know, I mean, it was a peaceful day, but at the same time, it was very, very dramatic.
Yep.
And then I had before all that, like my ex-husband, my second ex-husband, he put his hands on me. He beat the crap out of me. Like, my kids watched a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of glad that Logan wasn't seeing that,
Mhm.
because Haley and Christopher had seen a lot of it. My first ex-husband, him and I were fist fighting one another. Like, he would come at me, shove me, I'd shove him back. Like, it just became crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just best for us to go our own ways. And we did.
Okay.
Then my second husband come around and everything was great at the beginning.
Mhm.
And then he got hooked on that K2 and that altered
That'll
his
do it.
mind.
Fuck yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
That'll do it.
he'd been arrested a few times for domestic violence.
Mhm.
And my third ex-husband, he really did the number in. I'd known him my whole life. From the time I was like 5, 6 years old. We went to the same school. My mom and his mom were best friends. All growing up, all we ever heard was, you two are going to get married. And in 2012, we did. We got married.
Okay.
And the first year, like, everything was good. But then I started noticing things were going downhill. Like, he was drinking a lot. And I'd say 2 years into our relationship and our marriage, he got really, really drunk out with one of his buddies. I had his 2 kids on top of my 2 kids, and we were at his buddy's house waiting for him to get back. I was sitting there with his buddy's old lady.
Mhm.
Couldn't get a hold of either one of them. So here it is, 11:30 at night. I'm taking these kids back to his mom's house because we were over there for the holiday. It was a holiday weekend.
Mhm.
Well, he ends up showing up over at his buddy's house after I get his kids back there. He calls me and asks me where I'm at. I'm like, well, I'm on my way to come get you. I just dropped the kids off with your mom.
Yeah.
Well, I get all the way back to his buddy's house for me to find out and get a call from his mom that he is now there at the house with the kids and her.
Jesus.
And he's drunk and he's blowing up. So I get there, and this was in 2014. I get there, and he screaming at me. I'm like, he's like, you're out fucking around on me. You're cheating on me. I'm like, you're drunk. You need to go to bed. Like, your kids don't need to see this. Like, stop. That didn't happen. Instead, he shoved me off, because the way their house was set, when you walked in the door, it was a big old patio.
Okay.
It was covered. It was a covered porch. And then there was a stairway that went up. And I went up the stairs. He shoved me off them stairs, and I kind of like stumbled down them and into the door. And then I tried to tell him, I'm like, you're drunk. You need to fucking go lay down. You need to stop. Like, your kids don't need to see this. Stop. His mom's yelling at him to stop. Like, everybody's yelling at him to stop. And the next thing I know, like, he picks me up and he slams me off the concrete floor, busting the back of my head wide open.
Shit.
I woke up to his mom. Like, I was sitting at their table, EMS and them, they were trying to deal with me and try to get me awake. And his mom's like, come on, honey, you need to wake up. You need to wake up. And like, I remember fading in and out from it. And they took me to the hospital. And at this point in time, when they were loading me up in the ambulance, apparently my husband was tossing state troopers left and right because, well, he was very well known in Hillsdale County. And anytime we ever got pulled over, it said approach with police caution, call for backup. So anytime his name came across, it wasn't 1 or 2 cops. You're talking 6, 7, 8, 9 cops, depending on his mental status at this time. And I'm at the hospital, and the nurse comes in, and she's like, we see, your husband is your emergency contact. We're going to go ahead and give him a call. I said, he's a few rooms down from me, sedated. Go ahead and call him. He's the one that did this. Well, his buddy he was with come in to my room, and he had a big styrofoam cup. I'm not stupid. I know it's in that cup because he was an alcoholic. I looked at him. I said, you can get the fuck out of my room. It is your fault. We are here. You know he can't be drinking. Well, he took 2 steps in and 1 step out, 1 playing. They ended up sending me home that night. There was a no contact order, this, that, and the other. Well, finally, he was passing messages through people like he was sorry. And at this time, I'm petrified. I'm like, okay. So I still kept him away, kept him distance, was over at his sister's house, all of that. And he somehow managed to get through to me to the point I was like, okay, let's work this out. And I went and dropped the charges like a fucking idiot. And it boiled down to, we ended up being homeless, bouncing from place to place to place. Well, then friends of his let us stay over there with them. And I was working at one shop in Hudson, and he was working at another shop in Jonesville. And he had to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get out of work until 6 in the morning. When I got home, because I'd been sick, calling. He's not answering. Find out he was out cheating on me. When I walked through the door, he sat up and looked like, oh, I just woke up, did the stupid stretch. I'm looking at him, and you can tell when somebody just woke up. I'm like, okay, apparently you think I'm fucking retarded. So, he goes to work, he brags about it. Boss's wife turned around, she gets a hold of me. Needless to say, we confronted that situation, we handled that situation. And then in early 2018, things got real bad. Like the year prior to that, he cut his arm wide open, chasing my daughter through the house. And at this point, from 2014 to 2018, them 4 years, my kids watched so much shit between me and him. We would argue, and then it would get physical. He would never hold his temper. And my kids would watch him, and I was having seizure problems because of the amount of damage that had been done to my head from him slamming it off a wall, bouncing it off a stair, whatever he felt was necessary at that time. And I remember my kids waking me up one time after him and I got into an altercation, and he slammed my head off the stairs. And my daughter and my son were waking me up. And they're like, Mom, are you okay? Let's get you to the couch. I was like, I'm good. Just give me some Tylenol. Let things, I said, just leave it alone. Leave it be. We didn't dare call the cops. Not me, not my daughter, not my son. My kids, I told them, I'm like, look, just because he's like this with me, don't change your opinion of how you feel about him. I was trying to keep my kids positive, but not realizing that I was also telling my kids that this type of behavior is okay. And in 2018, by this time, I'd been working while he was working. In 2018, I noticed some big changes. And me and his daughter's mom were working at a farm together. And she asked me to cover her shift because she had court that day. So it was only the first 4 hours of shift. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Not a big deal. She comes in and she's like, James didn't show up to court. I'm like, I didn't know he had court. I would make sure that he did. And needless to say, she's like, that's not even the bad part of it. I'm dumbfounded. I'm like, what? She's like, well, they read his drug test results. And I'm like, what are his drug test results? What are you talking about? I said, they knew he was smoking weed. He told them. She's like, that's not what came back in his drug results. And I'm like, what came back? And she's like, he tested positive for high levels of methamphetamines on a daily basis. So I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? Like, I'm dumbfounded at this time. I'm working every day. He's not working. He's at home. So I call him. I'm like, hey, come get me. Like, she showed up. I'm ready to go. And he showed up, and I got in the car, and I got forehead to forehead with him, and I pushed his head all the way into the window, and I said, we get home, you've got two choices. You either take your ass to a fucking rehab, or you pack your shit and get the fuck out of my house. He's like, what's going on? I said, really, James? I said, methamphetamines on a daily usage. Well, at that point, things got real bad. He left that night. Well, after I called the cops and had the cops remove him because he just wanted to scream and yell and get physical. And I wasn't about that. I didn't want to deal with it. So he ended up leaving that night. The cops around told him, you can't come back until she says you can. Like, you give her time to cool off. So we did that. And needless to say, he came back Friday, bright 6 a.m. the following morning. I guess he went to go stay with his sister or whatever. And I'm like, look, I'm not doing this. Like, just come in, don't fucking say a word to me. Sit your ass in the couch. Whatever you got to do, just don't fucking talk to me right now. I don't want to talk to you. I went to work, come home, went to work, come home. Well, then I'm home one night, and my current husband that I'm with now shows up at the house.
Perfect. I was actually just going to say, we are getting close to the end.
Yep.
So I did want to talk a little bit about how it's like now. So
now, okay, I met my husband 8 years ago last night. Okay, well, I've known him since high school. Wonderful guy.
Good.
Like, I don't have anything bad to say about Chris. Like, Chris was my safe space.
Good.
After all of that, like, I hid in his room for 3 months. Nobody ever knew where I was. Like, I didn't say anything. I think maybe my one cousin knew where I was at. But at the end of the day, I now have an amazing husband.
Awesome.
My kids love him. My mom, who absolutely hates everybody, loves him.
Good.
You know, he's been supportive. He's been there. He's very kind, very caring.
Good.
He's, God, there's so many wonderful things I can say. He's a wonderful dad. Just a number of things.
And you've been married for 9 years.
No, actually, we got married in June of 2024.
Awesome.
I was not in a big hurry to get married.
Yeah, okay.
But at the end of the day, I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I took that step. Yeah, we have our ups and downs,
Awesome.
but my kids and their happiness. And I mean, I got 5 grandkids.
Awesome.
And he is wonderful with every single one of them. 2 of them he hasn't met yet, but the older 3 really, really love him, especially my granddaughter, Nova. That's her papa. You can't tell her any differently. And she will turn around and mean mug you and just talk all sorts of smack if you try to turn and be mean to her papa. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I have a wonderful job. I got away from the drugs. I got away from drink. I haven't drank or done anything in 8 years.
Congrats.
Like, it was a struggle at first, but now, like, I'm happy. Like, I work a real good job. I work over at Tenneco in Marshall. Like, my husband's very supportive. I do my own little t-shirts and stuff like that on the side when I'm home. So, I mean, it's a number of things. Like, I probably could sit here and tell you guys for a couple hours, everything, you know, but at the end of the day, when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to your children, if somebody is putting their hands on you, speak up. Don't keep it quiet. You know, and for the ones that sit there and support the one that they know is putting their hands on somebody else, shame on you. Shame on you, because all you're doing is enabling them to continue to be the way that they are.
You're just as guilty. You're just as fucking guilty.
And, you know, my experience with this, watching my daughter stayed in a relationship that was very abusive. And I am so proud of her because she is now divorced from him. She is living in her own place. She has a long road to go with her kids, but she's got to know mama's right there every step of the way. My son, he is doing amazing. He lives in Tennessee.
Good for him.
He's driving semis. He has 2 beautiful little kids. His youngest one is just a couple months old. Like, she's adorable. And Logan, I pray that in time he comes home.
Mhm.
I pray in time that he finds his way and he starts doing the right things when he comes home. But my door is always open to him. I may have been removed from his birth certificate, but the one thing that I absolutely stand by 100%, I don't need some piece of paper to tell me that's my child.
Yep.
That's just legal terms. That is my baby. That is my life. That is my heart, just like Haley and Christopher. And I have a phenomenal, beautiful 13-year-old stepdaughter.
Awesome.
So I can't complain.
Awesome.
So
Dude, thank you for coming on. Thank you for telling your story. Our wrap-up questions are always the same. Mine's cut and dry.
Forgot one. Cereal.
What was your favorite? Yeah, okay, I did forget my favorite question from childhood. What is your favorite cereal?
my favorite cereal has always been oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Like
the
with fruit or just plain or like
plain with fruit, like
Sugar, brown sugar.
brown sugar.
Okay,
Brown
of
sugar's
course.
best.
Yeah, of
Uh-huh.
course.
Yeah, that was always my favorite, and that's because my grandma made it for me every time.
Awesome.
So that woman, I wish she was here. She was a phenomenal lady.
And real quick too, I guess I didn't get to ask, who was the most influential person in your childhood? It sounded like grandpa, but I don't want to assume.
Believe it or not, it was my grandma and my grandpa.
Awesome.
My grandma was the backbone, the glue, the one that held everybody together.
Fuck, I know
And when
that.
she passed away in 98,
Damn.
that hit real hard.
Fuck, talk about a long life though.
Yeah. Yeah, like this woman, I'll tell you what, like I know we're coming to the end of
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
okay, but my grandmother was Medea.
Oh,
Okay,
fuck.
Like all the way down to the hair, the glasses, and even the moo-moo, okay?
Yeah.
Even
Hey, don't
the-
knock a moo though.
No, and this is why I'm going to say this, and this is actually a funny story. I was 6 years old, and I was at my grandparents' house, and I was laying on my grandma's hip, and I was watching cartoons. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about the National Enquirer paper or not. Okay, my grandma called them her horror papers.
Okay.
Had her plastic blue Maxwell House coffee cup, and she was sitting there drinking her coffee, and my grandpa came home from Chrysler. And well, he come in the house and he's like, bitch, get in the kitchen and make me some breakfast. Apparently he had a bad week at work.
Uh-huh.
And my grandma, not showing any anger, closed her paper, set it down, took a drink of her coffee, got up, went into the kitchen, and was making. Okay, so I thought it was breakfast, but she come back into the living room with a cast iron skillet and laid his ass out in the living room, sat down, and turned and told him when he came to, what'd you say to me?
Yep.
He said, I got to go make myself some breakfast. She told me to lay my head down and I seen nothing. But yeah, she did. She laid him right out. And I mean, that is one of the most fondest memories of my grandma because my grandmother was always that woman. You don't take disrespect from nobody.
Nobody.
And that's the one thing that I ultimately hate is the fact that my kids never got to meet her.
Good.
But they know a lot about her because, well, that woman was crazy.
Awesome.
She was fun crazy. So
My only wrap-up question is, what is your definition of success?
my definition of
Yep.
success is achieving anything that you put your mind to, no matter how hard you think it may be to get there.
Mhm.
A positive thought will always keep you in a positive direction. And you don't ever let anybody turn around and decipher what your life's going to be like. You are in control of your own life.
Yes,
And
you are.
that is success to me.
Dude, just real quick before you wrap up, to hear from what you went through and like how we got to here, and I know we didn't hit everything,
Mhm.
it's just fucking phenomenal. Like, seriously, thank you. I mean that. Thank you.
It made it, I mean, I'm one, I've learned to deal with my emotions,
Mhm.
but there are still some things that hit close to home.
I can only imagine.
And the one thing is with my children.
Mhm.
And I can't ever apologize to them enough for the things that they went through growing up. And to this day, they know I'm a phone call away.
Mhm.
They know I will be there. Even though my son lives in Tennessee, I will drive my ass down there.
Your son was watching too, so.
Mhm.
Christopher?
He said hi, yep.
He said hi way back, but we were talking, so
Yeah.
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 Your wrap-up question?
Yeah. If you now met younger you, would you get along and vice versa?
Oh no, I definitely probably would have done smacked her all over the place and asked her what the hell she was doing, because to sit and talk about it full-fledged like this for everybody to hear, it's not just, me, but there are some things that my kids just heard today that they've never heard. I would never never get along with somebody like I was when I was younger.
Would she get along with you now?
Probably because I've made it my life mission to help, people who've been in those situations, who've been through domestic violence, single moms who don't know which way to turn and don't have anybody. I'm a phone call away. I'm a message away. I will give my shirt off my back to help somebody.
I'm going to add one other thing to that. Do you think if younger you met you now that you'd have been able to help her out of it? Maybe you would have seen the light sooner.
Like if you had someone like you now back then.
Yeah.
The thing is my daughter is my mini me, and she is a lot like me. And I've helped her get to where she's at. So I think that
That's exactly what would have happened then.
Yes, in the end, that's exactly what would have happened. I would have bit my tongue. Because, situations like that can be very, very frustrating.
Sure.
But I'd have bit my tongue and helped them out the best I could.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you had one word to sum up your entire journey from where you started, where you are now, and where you were going, it has to be one word. It can't be hyphenated, and it has to be a real word.
Adventurous.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
We'll cut the cameras here in a second. That's when I'll ask you to sign at the table. I got you just a couple stickers.
Oh,
Prisoner to Painter.
thank you.
And then I know you've probably seen them advertised that I've been selling them, but we're just giving you one. Stories Save Lives, Prisoner to Painter t-shirt.
Thank you,
Your
guys.
stories I'm positive it helped somebody today. I'm positive.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Yep, thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.